Hello and welcome to the program. I am Frank Omalape. Thank you for joining us on the district. Coming up now, let's take a look at how a young entrepreneur is driven by passion to build a home for 1 million Nigerians, given the huge housing deficit in the country. Now, according to Bukola Oluwinga, he is in the real estate business to service humanity. Also coming up on the program, discover how you too can play profitably well in the Nigerian property market, leveraging on the country's huge population. That's on our business guide. And according to reports, Nigeria is the most populous black nation in the world, yet remain one of the world's poorest countries. On the big story, we look at how the country can take advantage of its mass land to creating shelter for its escalating population. This is the district on Captain Business. We'll be right back in a moment. Just stay with us. Glad to have you here. You're watching the district on Captain Business if you're just joining us. Now, let me quickly connect to our reporter who is standing by with the world market headline. Let's cross over now, shall we?
Hello and welcome to World Market Headline. I'm Precious Otuegba. President Donald Trump's top trade negotiator said the U.S. planned to raise tariffs on Chinese goods on Friday, accusing Beijing of backpedaling on commitments it made during negotiations. U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer told reporters Monday in Washington that the trade talks will continue and a Chinese delegation will visit Washington on Thursday and Friday. Amid those discussions, the Trump administration planned to increase duties on Chinese imports on May 10. He said, meanwhile, Standard & Poor's 500 futures fell on the news, along with trade-sensitive stocks including Caterpillar Incorporation, Apple stock, and others. Yield on 10-year U.S. Treasury fell 6 basis points at 2.47% Monday, with most of the decline coming late in the New York day on the back of the tariff news. The dollar fell against the yen and maintained its decline in Asia-Pacific trading Tuesday and held above lows from early Monday. And social media giant Facebook is seeking investment worth $1 billion for its rumored cryptocurrency stablecoin, according to the Wall Street Journal. The publication revealed Facebook was currently talking to major payment network Visa and MasterCard about potential support, along with payment processor First Data Corp. The cryptocurrency project dubbed FB Coin has followed rumors for around a year that Facebook wants to provide in-house payments to users. According to the WSJ sources, the huge fiat blocking, however, is further deliberately designed to remove perceived doubts about Facebook Coin versus Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. 2 U.S. senators on Monday criticized reported plans for a Federal Trade Commission settlement with Facebook Inc. for misuse of consumers' personal data, saying top officials potentially including founder Mark Zuckerberg must be held personally responsible. The agency is also reportedly contemplating a settlement that elevates oversight of privacy policies and practices to Facebook's board of directors and requires the social media giant to be more aggressive in policy toward party APP developers. The first time President Donald Trump threatened tariffs on the luggage that Tiffany Williams imports for our Texas store, she stockpiled high-end suitcases and other products ahead of the deadline to protect profits. Trump on Sunday vowed to lift tariffs on $200 billion of Chinese imports to 25% from 10% by the end of this week if no trade pact is sealed between the world's two largest economies. Williams sources about 85% of the products for her business. Luggage shop of Lubbock from China, and she bought heavily before Trump's first round of 10% hit last fall. This time, we would not have that opportunity. We wouldn't be able to load up, said Williams, who voted for Trump. Her sales are down since November under pressure from tariff-related sticker shock on a mainstay high-end product and competition from online rivals like Amazon.com Incorporation. In an email on Monday, she shared with our Reuters Samsonite told her it would again raise prices to match the tariffs if Trump makes good on his threats. And that's a wrap on World Market Headline. It's back to you now.
Thank you for staying tuned on the program. I am Frank Omalaped, your host on the District on Captain Business. Now, the Nigeria real estate sector contribution to gross domestic product increased from 6.5% in fourth quarter 2018 to about 6.6% in fourth quarter 2018. But a breakdown of the recently released GDP report by the National Bureau of Statistics shows that a further decline of the sector. Now, the sector's real growth, gross domestic product dropped by 3.85% from 2.68% depreciation recorded in the preceding quarter. Now, the growth of the sector has remained negative territory for at least 12 consecutive quarters. Now, one young entrepreneur that is taking advantage of the opportunities in this slow growth and the huge deficit has created in the sector is Bukola Olugbenga, the MD Intelligence Properties. He says he's driven by passion to serve humanity and providing home for 1 million Nigerians. One Nigerian per time and at a time. Let's get to meeting now. But first, the big story now.
Shelter is one of the human basic needs that cannot be ignored. It is the dream of many Nigerians to live in their own houses. However, considering the low standard of living, rising cost of land and building materials have become a huge challenge.
Price of land is high and the banks are not helping too, because so many people we know in the Western world, they borrow money from the bank to build their homes, and we don't have good mortgage in this country. For you to even own a flat in an estate or to buy government property, we don't have good mortgage to take care of that. So I think one of the major reasons why Nigerians can't own their home is because of the land, the price of the land.
Many Nigerians in major cities live in a rented apartment. A few are homeless, while a greater number cannot afford a land to build their own. More worrisome is that the price of property has gone through the roof as plots of land in cities like Lagos, Abuja, or Port Harcourt attract high rental values. Many have also questioned the role of the government and mortgage banks in housing scheme.
The number one thing they can do is to subsidize some of these building materials, and number two is there for them to have a very a monitored organization, a monitored group who can look into this. What they call it, these low-cost houses, which they claim to are providing for the masses. So without that, they are not doing anything.
The housing challenge is increasingly becoming worrisome as more rural dwellers are migrating to the cities. High cost of building materials even makes it difficult for average Nigerians to build their own houses.
So what would you consider the most pressing issue? Of course, we have a deficit in the sector. We have a lot of issues, lack of funding and all. But for you, as an operator in this sector, what would be the most pressing issue for you?
An average home owner or potential home owner, as the case may be, wants a house over his head, a roof over his head. But beyond that, he wants to have such house in an environment where he feels that security is not a challenge. If he can go to his house easily, the roads are okay, there is water, possibly, and there is electricity. You're getting what I'm trying to say. But unfortunately, most of these infrastructures are not there. So you see developers spending more to put those things in place such that they can attract the right kind of people that want to come and stay in that place. So all these infrastructural developments end up increasing the cost of development of these houses in such a manner that there's only an extent to which you can acquire those houses.
The housing situation seems to have created a boom in the sector. According to the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, the Nigeria real estate sector contribution to gross domestic product increased from 6.5% in fourth quarter 2018 to 6.6% in fourth quarter 2018. However, with over 17 million housing gap in Nigeria, private developers are now fully involved in housing scheme, an indication that real estate business is generating good returns.
And if they are not well paid in where their different location is with their job, I don't think they'll be able to build houses. Even most people have issues in paying house rent. Let alone talking of those that want to build houses. You can see how difficult it is.
Despite the challenges of housing development in the country, the real estate business is on the rise and very lucrative, making many millionaires. But many have observed it's important that the government engage private sector to make access to housing affordable for all. Frank Omalape, Captain Business, Lagos.
Glad to have you back now. Let's continue the conversation as taking a look at the big interview with the CEO now, taking a look at the real estate development and the opportunity in the Nigeria property market. I've been joined by Mr. Bukola Olubenga, the MD of Intelligence Properties Limited. Thank you for your time on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, of course, I understand that real estate development requires huge capital, very intensive, of course, what I know. Perhaps you can prove me wrong. So how was it? How was the journey for you? How did you start out, to today? So perhaps you need to give us a breakdown or a background of your journey so far at Intelligence Properties.
We started from a humble background. We started 2013 from an humble background with buying just an acre, 6 plots of land, and haven't understood the fact what actually sells in real estate, understanding the basic needs of that problem, of the basic opportunity of the business, so which is location. And we bought a location. We gave it a trial in February, and in October, the prices were going for double of the same of the value we bought in February, and we sold. Wow. And we sold. So we reinvested. So we plowed back the money. We were able to get more acres. We plowed back. We sold. We were able to, and that's what has led to 9 location estates that we have today.
How do you build network of clients by rendering them, these services?
The people go towards delivery. One thing about real estate is real. The basic social capital is still trust, and that's where there's buoyancy in any economy. And we saw it that it's lacking among many Nigerians, many businesses, and we found out that this is the area we can build.
When you talk about infrastructure, what does it entail when you're developing a property for people to buy into? Because we're looking at what really does a client want.
The first thing is the building. He wants to just see the structure.
Okay.
But clients become more aware when he's looking at the structure and he's not seeing good access to the structure.
Okay, which you talk about infrastructure,
yes, infrastructure.
Right? Okay.
So it is much more to live in a proud environment. That environment actually increases the value of every property. We are right here now, we are in Omole. which is one axis of Ojodu. A property, a land going on for 100 million, while outside this estate, you get a land for 20 million. So infrastructure.
So let's talk about infrastructure, access to infrastructure.
Access to infrastructure.
So I just want us to talk a little bit more about the size and the opportunities in the real estate development in Nigeria. Someone who wants to take advantage of this, for instance, an investor who wants to go into it, even with little or no fund capital, how do you think such a person can start? And when you look at the size of this market, how would you describe in terms of revenue and, of course, the money in terms of the rendering of services they can generate for people?
There are different levels of properties.
Okay.
Yeah. You start with a step. You can start with as little as 10,000 naira. One thing that is key in every property is you look for the equity.
Okay.
When you can get the equity, you can get that property.
But at that level, is it as a homeowner, a landlord, or as an investor who really want to own an estate and develop properties and then in turn sell out?
So a homeowner can start even in that and become an investor.
Okay.
And later become a developer. A homeowner can start in that. You know, the first thing is that you've got to believe that you can own a home. And all what you need to look for is the access. Access is what you need to get into anything. When you get an asset, when you get a road from the distance A to distance B, that road will connect you.
So the other access comes from
the access
to funding or maybe
basically
property?
You're looking for the property.
Okay.
Looking for the property, and I mentioned equity the other time. Equity is called equity in some places, but in some places it's called down payments. The moment you can meet up with the down payments, in anywhere in the world, any property, they will ask you for down payments. So in meeting up, if you have a plan to get a property by the end of this year, you can save up for the down payments. You get to know the down payments. In some of our land properties here, down payments can be 75,000, as low as 75,000. Some down payments can be as low as 100,000. You understand? But your regular payment might not be more than 20,000.
If you look into it now, how much do you think it's worth in terms of revenue generation or employment creation and all of that?
It has been discovered that research had it that in the next few years in the country, economy of Nigeria will be run on two major sectors, agriculture and real estate. So devoting money into infrastructure, into housing, then it's going to spring up the opportunities. And when we talk about real estate, you know, when a developer goes into an undeveloped land, to be able to add value on that land, you know, you get a lot of people working. You get bricklayers, you get plumbers, you know, and much more. By the time people come in and they begin to live in that environment, you have maintenance, plumbers continue to make money, electricians continue to make money because you need to make room for maintenance. Right. So there is no way when you go for one home, it shows that you are increasing the economy of the country.
How far have you gone with that target of creating properties and for the generation to come?
Okay, there are 5 stages where you can individual or an investor or a developer can actually benefit from what I want to say now. On this, first we start we have site without service. The second one is slum upgrade. The third one, which is site with service. And the last one is luxury. And those are you do that one for significance. You do it for your name, just because of the status you have gotten into. So that's another level.
Well, let's leave it there. Thank you so much for your time. Managing Director, Intelligence Properties Limited, Mr. Bukola Olugbenga. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
You're still watching the District on Kaftan Business, and I am Frank Omalape, your host on the program. Now, we just saw a while ago how you too can tap into opportunities in the Nigeria real estate sector. Now, let's get some expert guide and, of course, what it takes to become a successful real estate investor. Shall we now?
It's now time to take a tour now, as we have an expert who will be giving us a guide in the real estate development and, of course, how to go about investing into real estate. I've been joined by Mr. Ayodeji Owoye, COO, Intelligence Properties Limited. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So what do you think he needs to know? What are the things required for a startup?
Okay, thank you so much for this opportunity. I believe that one has to start by making a decision.
All right.
To play in which part of real estate that one actually wants to play in, which is, that I believe is the most important thing to do. Then after that is done, then I believe in investment. I would like to take us through the stages of property investment, which is very, very key, especially for people that are, testing their toes in the waters of real estate.
All right.
Very, very important. So I think the first stage is actually site without service.
Okay.
Which is that is the lowest form or the lowest stage of property development. That is the area where a lot of people, especially real estate realtors, play, because the risk is high and the price is low.
Okay, so when you say start without service, how do you mean?
Yeah, what I mean is that, when you have a land, that is, if I take you now, Mr. Frank, to a land and you see bush and you see trees, you see there's no road, there is no, presence of any activity, whatever. So at that stage, an average person that want to start is scared. Like, okay, I really don't know how this is going to turn out. You get so, but as professionals, we've seen that that's the best time to get into the real estate investment because it is cheap, affordable, but the risk that I mentioned earlier is the risk of losing the land because there are no boundaries. Okay. So after you've dealt with the site without service, then the next stage, which is the risk is lower at this stage, but the price is also higher. You get that is when you talk about Makoko. Since you have adjoining roads, you have easy access, but the whole place is messed up. So a savvy investor can just look at it that, okay, I don't need to spend my money on infrastructure, basically. I can come here and just raise buildings, and since I have the road, water is already there, and I can raise it up. I can raise buildings, and people can buy and lease. So the third one is site with services, which a lot of people are more comfortable with. That is getting into a land where the road has already been done, the drainage has already been done.
Okay.
When an average investor gets into that space, you feel comfortable like, okay, this space is already owned by someone, so I can play here. The fourth stage is that's affordable housing. That is when the house is already built. You just get there and you feel like, okay, let me buy this. I can buy it at so amount and sell it. Maybe make some improvements on it and sell it at this amount. The risk is almost zero.
Interesting.
So the last stage of investment is luxury housing. That is when, and I always tell people that at this stage, you are not planning really to make profits, basically, because those environments have reached their peak.
I'm going to stop you here. Let's quickly take a break now. We'll be back in a moment. Let's join our reporter who is standing by for stock market update.
Hello and welcome to Stock Market Update. I'm Precious Otuegba. MTN Group PLC has announced plans to file an application for public listing with the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Security and Exchange Commission confirmed in a statement earlier in the week that the Commission had received an application from the telecom giant. According to the statement, MTN applied for listing by introduction, which will enable the company to be listed and allow shareholders to sell their shares on the floor of the exchange. It added that the application was already receiving attention. MTN had earlier converted its Nigerian unit into a public company from a private one before the planned listing on the exchange. And domestic gas supply in Nigeria is set to increase by about 300 million standard cubic MSCF daily through the Asa North Ohaji South Gas Processing Company, a partnership between the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) and Seplat Petroleum Nigeria Limited. With the development, Nigeria could bridge the projected shortfall in domestic gas supply. Group Managing Director NNPC Dr. Makanti Baru. Last week, while inaugurating the company in Abuja, he said the project is an integral part of the corporation's 7 critical gas development projects, adding that the move was designed to bridge the estimated 3.4 billion cubic feet of gas per day shortfall, which could arise as demand increases to about 7 BCF by 2020. Barrow urged board members of the company to sustain the momentum and ensure timely delivery of the projects below projected budgets, without compromising the industry best practices of zero incidences. We believe that a private sector-driven project should deliver much faster, hence we came up with a structure outside the existing joint venture with the intent of getting the appropriate entities to participate in the project. He reiterated NNPC's commitment to the project, adding that the dream would be kept alive to ensure smooth delivery. The Nigerian equity market started the week on a bearish note as the benchmark index contracted by 0.05% to 29,196.87 points. Driven by sell-off across industrial goods and banking stocks, thus, the month-to-date and year-to-date losses increased to 5.94% and 7.11% respectively. On sectoral performance, losses in banking, industrial goods, and oil and gas marked gains in insurance and consumer goods. Market breadth was negative with 4 losers and 13 gainers, led by UAC Prop, which dropped 8.93% and NEM gained 9.9% respectively. Total volume of trades decreased by 23.88% to 271.01 million units. Valued at 1.39 billion naira and exchanged in 3,814.00 deals. In our view, the sustained sell-offs in the Nigerian equities market is overdone compared to peer markets. And that's a wrap on Stock Market Update. I'm Precious Otuegba.
Glad to have you back now. Let's wrap it up now, the second part of the conversation, as we have an expert, Mr. Ayodeji Oweye, the CEO Intelligence Properties, giving us a guide into real estate investment. Thank you for your time. Now, what are those documents? Because you said earlier that the fourth stage, which is site without service, so what are the things to put in place? Is it a debt document to acquire, to procure, so as to prevent loss of investment in that case? What are the really things to really acquire or get?
Yeah, thank you so much. Just like I said earlier, the stage, which I call the site without service stage, is actually the best time to get into real estate investment. But we must also talk on the documents, which you have rightly mentioned. And that is just in a way to reduce the risk involved. You know, because just like I said, the risk is high and the price is low. So once the risk gets lower in any environment, the price gets more. Basically, the first thing one has to look at is the source.
Okay.
You know, the source of a land or a property is more important than the document. Because in this field, we've seen that some might have document on the land and still lose it because they got the source wrongly. You get, so for site without service, one of the things that one has to look at is, if one is looking at going into real estate investment big time, is the traditional route of title. That is the original owners of that land.
So from which of the sources do you get
that from? So you get that from the king.
Okay. The king of the
environment.
Okay,
of that place, the traditional rulers.
Okay.
So those ones are the ones, because they are also recognized by government as the landowners. After then is that you get the stakeholders to sign that you are now buying this land from this family in this community. You get, so what you do is, once that is done, then that can now be used to process every other document to register that land with the government, stating that there's a change of ownership now. So whenever that land comes up, it shows at the government's office or the town planning office that you are now the owner of that land. So that is when you can now start maybe the process of your CFO and every other thing from there.
For someone who just starting up, how do you think the person can raise funds? What are the sources of funds or financing that such a person can take advantage of to becoming a successful investor in this?
You know, when you can spend so much money in real estate and not really make much out of it. And someone can spend a little and get a huge result. And that's because the source is ascertained. So a lot of people go into real estate and they get the source wrong. At times they buy from the wrong people. You get, so, but once you get the source right, you spend less. You have to, for everyone planning to go into real estate investment, we have to look at what we call OPM.
Okay.
That is other people's money. You get, so it is very, very important, because you can't get a loan to start a real estate investment because you learn.
So what you're saying, it's not advisable to go for a loan.
It's not. Real estate is built on trust.
Interesting.
That is why a lot of people send money from outside the country without even seeing you or seeing the land. But based on the fact that they've seen you before, or they've seen that over the years you've built integrity, they can send money to you and believe that what they're buying is actually authentic.
Wow, let's leave it there. Right. Mr. Ayodeji Oweye, COO, Intelligence Properties Limited. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
If you just joined us, you're watching The District on Kaftan Business. I am Frank Omalape, your host on the program. Now let's get to see some exportable brands and local content made in Nigeria. This, of course, is an expose on some of these products out of Nigeria to the rest of the world. If you just join us, you're watching the District on Captain Business. I'm Frank Omalape. Thank you for your time on the program. At this time, let's quickly take a break. We'll be back in a moment to stay with us. Thank you for your time on the program. If you just joined us, you're still watching the District on Captain Business. Now, let's connect you to our reporter who is standing by to take us through some news around the economy. Let's cross over now, shall we?
Hello and welcome to Economy Watch. I'm Precious Otuegba. The Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit has vowed that sanctions for any commercial bank which allowed transactions from any local government account without monies first reaching the LG account. In addition, the agency said no cash withdrawal exceeding 500,000 naira per day could be made from any local government account with effect from June 1, 2019. Noting that any other transaction must be done through valid checks or electronic fund transfer. According to the body, in an emailed statement by its acting chief media analyst, Hamed Diko, earlier in the week, directed that all financial institutions, relevant stakeholders, public servants, and the public to ensure full compliance with the provisions of the guidelines which had been submitted to financial institutions and relevant enforcement agencies. The Central Bank of Nigeria, in collaboration with the Bankers Committee, as part of efforts to boost job creation in Nigeria, particularly among the youth, has developed a creative industry financing initiative. The CBN said in the week that under this operation, loan initiative beneficiaries could get up to 500 million naira loans at 9% in interest rates. It noted that the creative industries could apply where fashion, information technology, movie production, movie distribution, music, and software engineering student loan. It also urged them to prepare the business plan or statement on how much they required for the business. According to the CBN, the banks will discuss the request and provide the money. Again, AITO have suffered another setback as AITO Eastern Exploration and Production Company has again shut down its 150,000 barrels per day capacity Nembe Creek trunk line less than 24 hours after reopening the activity. The company said yesterday that after repairs of identified leak points occasioned by activities of oil thieves, 2 new leak points were reported along the same line near the Awoba riser manifold. According to the company, its emergency response process was immediately activated and deployed to limit oil spread on bodies of water, whilst efforts to identify cause of the incident repair have been initiated. It says hours before the latest incident, the indigenous oil giant had restated its commitment to its host community after a section of the Nembe community by Elsa State converged without prior notice and barricaded the entrance to the company's logistics base. The governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, has said the Apex Bank is currently investigating the accounts of individuals and corporate organizations currently involved in smuggling and dumping textile materials into Nigeria. Emefiele disclosed this yesterday when he flagged off the distribution of cotton seeds and other inputs to over 100,000 cotton farmers in Katsina State for the 2019 farming season. According to Emefiele, the aim is to blacklist the individuals and companies involved in the illicit trade. He also said all banks in Nigeria would be barred from conducting any banking business with the companies, their owners, and top management. The move is also aimed at improving cotton production from the 80,000 tons produced in 2018 to over 300,000 tons by 2020. The statement said the foreign exchange restriction on finished textiles and other 42 items remained in force in the month under review as against $345.68 million posted in December 2018. A breakdown of the numbers indicated that contributions from crude oil amounted to $269.43 million, while gas and miscellaneous receipts stood at $111.75 million and $0.52 million, respectively. The interbank money market recorded 49% fall in average liquidity last month at the Central Bank of Nigeria. CBN mopped up 820 billion naira from the market during the month. Also during the month, the CBN sold 820.15 billion naira worth of secondary markets, that is the open market operations OMO, treasury bills, while it repaid 225.65 billion naira for maturing bills. Thus, the interbank money market experienced net outflow of 594 billion naira during the month. However, cost of funds generally moderated downwards with average interest rates on short-term interest rates falling 88 basis points. According to a review of activities in the interbank money market in April by Lagos-based investment firm Financial Derivatives Company, average liquidity within the banking system stood at 112.17 billion, 448.92% lower than the position of 219.63 billion in the corresponding period in March. The company also stated that due to the low liquidity within the system, the interest rates on open buyback and overnight lending spiked to a 2-month high of 40% and 42.93% respectively on April 15, before retreating to close the period of the month at 8.96% and 9.82% respectively. The USD and NGN depreciated by 0.16% to 361.24 million naira and by 0.3% to 361 million naira at the import and export window and parallel markets respectively. And total turnover in the import and export window decreased by 32% to $109.52 million, with trades consummated within the 358 naira 50 kobo to 361 naira 50 kobo per dollar band. The overnight lending rate expanded by 614 basis points to 12.0% as the CBN mopped up liquidity via open market operation auction, selling a total of 312.38 billion naira to 26.33 billion naira of the 108 death to maturity, 21.03 billion naira of 199 tenor and 265.02 billion naira of 353 tenor, with stop rates of 11.80%, 12.88%, 12.90%, 12.94% and 13.02%. Activities in the Treasury bills market were bullish as the average yield compressed 8 basis points to close at 13.04%. Trading in the bond market was similarly bullish as average yield contracted by 10 basis points to close at 14.16%. Buy sentiment was evident at the short end of the curve, with yield on June 2019 bond recording a significant contraction. And that's a wrap on Economy Watch. I'm Precious Otuegba.
So what would you consider the most pressing issue? Of course, we have a deficit in the sector. We have a lot of issues, lack of funding and all. But for you as an operator in this sector, what would be the most pressing issue for you?
An average homeowner or potential homeowner, as the case may be, wants a house over his head, a roof over his head. But beyond that, he wants to have such house in an environment where he feels that security is not a challenge. If he can go to his house easily, the roads are okay, there is water, possibly, and there is electricity. You're getting what I'm trying to say? But unfortunately, most of these infrastructures are not there. So you see developers spending more to put those things in place such that they can attract the right kind of people that want to come and stay in that place. So all these infrastructural developments end up increasing the cost of development of these houses in such a manner that there's only an extent to which you can acquire those houses. You're getting what I'm trying to say? So
they are extra.
The extra
value.
cost.
Extra value.
Thank you. Extra. The developers have now given extra values that came at an extra cost that will impact on the selling price. You're getting it? So there are people who will buy their plots of land and they want to develop and live there and bear the risk. Whatsoever that comes out of it, fine and good. But if you, as a developer, okay, I'm sure you don't want your business to be known to be giving out houses without adequate infrastructure. Every developer wants to be seen to be doing the right thing that will attract the right kind of people that can afford the product that you're putting in the market. So if we decide, like a couple of the projects that we're doing right now, we're doing it from infrastructure to finishing of the houses, and prices have been pegged for these things. And quite unlike before, where we used to see people come and buy a couple of units of houses, we have now gone to the next level of taking instrumental payments, even when they want to buy plots of land under a site and service scheme, or if they want to buy the houses, people are now allowed to spread payment because of the liquidity crunch in the system.
Do you think we can engage a kind of funding that will afford the low income, and of course we have the high class and of course the low level. So let's start. Let's begin from there.
It depends on the location and where you want to buy it. Okay, and that is where I said that the government will have to come in. A ministry worker who is earning 80,000, 100,000, 120,000 naira, trust me, may not be able to get a mortgage of 6-7 million naira. You may not be able to get that. If you work it out and check the 33% of his monthly revenue,
that's right.
You shouldn't pay more than that as your monthly rentals on your mortgages. You find that a lot of people will not be qualified. So if you are working in such environment and you want a 2-bedroom flat that you can acquire for 5 million, then be ready to go to maybe somewhere around Badagry. It's a critical question because where do we start from? Are you going to talk about the existing houses as it is right now and you're multiplying them by the passive cost, or you want to talk about the potential businesses that have not been tapped? So the market is crazy, the market is big. If the fundamentals are right, the market is crazy. The market, I can't put a figure right now. I can't tell you that the real estate sector in Nigeria today is worth $1 trillion or whatever. It may be more than that, but we'll have to put indices to our assumptions.
Nigeria's population is about 200 million people. And of course, with this huge deficit, it is important that the government starts harnessing or perhaps partner with private developer to start harnessing these opportunities and of course, untap opportunities for that matter. And that does it for the district this week. Many thanks for your time on the program. I am Frank Omalape. I'll see you again.